Yeah, this is Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, speaking on the subject of easily fooled. How easily fooled are you? Let's go back to our subject matter, which is 1 Samuel. We're up to chapter 24, where David spares Saul. Now it happened when Saul had returned from following the Philistines that it was told him, saying, "Take note, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi." Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel, and went to seek David and his men on the rocks of the wild goats. So he came to the sheepfolds by the road, where there was a cave, and Saul went in to attend to his needs. And David, his men were staying in the recesses of the caves. Everybody has a cave they can hide in, isn't there? There's always a cave around the corner if there's something to confront or hide from, isn't there? We need to get out from under the caves and under the sweeping things under the mat. You know what I mean? Hiding things under the bed. Come out from out of your caves. Let's just look at an example with Jesus for a minute. Jesus and his disciples had just come through a storm, and they'd crossed to the other side, and they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately they met him out of the tombs. Okay, he's come out of the tomb, which is similar to a cave, isn't it? Immediately they met him, a man who come out of the tombs, a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling place among the tombs, and no one could bind him. Good on this bloke that no one could bind him, not even with chains. Now, some of these organisations have got these people so bound up, they've got no strength left, no conscience left, no discernment left or ability to be able to leave. They just allow themselves to be bound and chained in these horrible, deceiving organisations. And I'm going to say the Jehovah's Witnesses is the primary cult, because he often been bound and shackled and chained. He'd had enough of it, this bloke. He'd had enough of it. And the chains had been pulled apart by him. He pulled that thing apart. He done his research. Oh, he done his research. Bugger it, he said, I'm going to find out what the truth is here. And the shackles, he broke the shackles in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran. He ran. Now listen, what direction did he run in? This is what I want to ask you. Most of these people are running away from Jesus, this demonized man in his horrible state, cut to pieces, self-mutilated, bound and chained, broke it all off. Why? So that he could run to Jesus. And he saw Jesus afar off and he ran. He ran towards him and worshipped him. You know what? He was running in the right direction, wasn't he? As soon as he saw Jesus, he ran. He ran at him. He probably shouted out going, I'm going to get this guy. And by the closer he got, he found out who Jesus was, I tell you. And he worshipped him. This guy worshipped Jesus, and Jesus let him, Jehovah's Witnesses. Thought you weren't allowed to worship angels and all this stuff. Jesus isn't an angel, he's the living God. If you don't believe me, watch this. And he cried out with a loud voice and said, What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? This is the demon. I implore you, by God, that you do not torment me. And he said to him, Come out of the man, unclean spirit. Then he asked him, What is your name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. He also begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. And so now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. So all the demons begged him, saying, Send us into the swine. And he sent them into the swine. And there was about, how many? There was a couple of thousand, I think, and they all drowned. Now, if a demon can't get a human, it'll settle for an animal, okay? Get out of your caves and run to Jesus. Do your homework. Do your research. Don't be bound and chained. Then the men of David said to him, This is the day of which the Lord said to you, Behold, I will deliver your enemy into your hand, that you may do to him as it seems good to you. Now it happened afterward that David's heart troubled him because he had cut Saul's robe. And he had said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my master, the Lord's anointed. Now David's mixed up here. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen to what I'm saying to you. Please. I'm doing this for a reason, and this is a primary part. One of the great misleading teachings that I've heard, and most manipulative teachings, is David saying, the Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my master, the Lord's anointed. Well, okay, that's all great that he doesn't want to hurt anybody, and I agree with that, but he's got one thing wrong. Saul wasn't anointed. He lost his anointing in chapter 15 and 16, where he was rejected from being king. To stretch out my hand against him. Seeing he is anointed, David was the one that was anointed, so he's misrepresenting and misguiding the whole thing of the Lord. Just because David said Saul was anointed doesn't mean that he was. If you followed this study, back in 15, 16 and 17, Saul was rejected and David was anointed. Please, you've got to realize Saul was not the anointed of the Lord. David was, but Samuel didn't do his job, did he? Samuel didn't go to the people and say, right, Saul's got the sack and David's been installed. That's where it all went belly up. That's why nobody knew that David was the anointed of the Lord, because Samuel didn't do his job. And David must have realized Samuel wasn't going to do his job, because when he was down there with Samuel and Saul, I don't know what happened, but he bolted. He got out of there. You've got to look at all of these studies to follow what's going on here. Saul was not anointed. Saul was not anointed at this time. David was. So there's a whole positional confusion here. Saul's giving someone a position that they didn't have, and it's not good for either. Saul should have stood down and went home and went back to farming. He was never capable of being a king. And that's the cruel part of all this. When you're in a position and it's falling out from underneath you and you want to keep hold of it, you become desperate. You don't care about hurting people anymore. People all around you get hurt and maimed and harmed. I've seen it. And before you know it, everybody's gone because everybody's ruined and had enough. So David restrained his servants with these words and did not allow them to rise against Saul. And Saul got up from the cave and went on his way. David also arose afterward, went out of the cave and called out to Saul, saying, My lord the king. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Saul was not the king, and David knew he wasn't the king. Can I get some comments on this, please, if you get this far in the video? Saul was not the king. Saul was rejected as king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed down. And David said to Saul, Why do you listen to the words of men who say, Indeed, David seeks your harm? Look, because Saul was desperate. He was trying to hang on to something that wasn't his anymore, and he knew David had been given it. Look, this day, your eyes have seen that the Lord delivered you today in my hand in the cave. And someone urged me to kill you, but my eye spared you. And I said, I will not stretch out my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Now doesn't that sound, doesn't that sound all grandiose and prima proper and respectful and committed and devoted and all that? But he was not the Lord's anointed. And this is what's happening with the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're not the Lord's anointed. They're not the faithful and discreet slave. And you've got these Davids running around devoting themselves to things that shouldn't even be there. It's time I put in a video here. I want to put a video in here. Bear with me for a minute. Just a short clip. Do you know how much harm it does if you're saying to someone they're anointed as king and they're not. It has a ripple effect. It could ripple through tens of thousands of people and cause them to be misled. You'll see soon what I mean by this. Saul should have packed up his toolbox or his luggage and said, I've got to go back to be a farmer because Samuel's given me the sack. Why didn't he do that? Why? Why aren't the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses saying, we've got so many doctrines wrong and we can't apologise because we don't want to. We need to just pack up our stuff and shut this down and go home. Why won't they do it? Because they haven't got any accountability. That's why. But guess what? Slowly but surely, people with a bit of integrity are watching this and they're going, no more. No more. We're not going to tolerate this anymore, like Absalom did with Amnon. And like the Philistines are going to do with Saul. Saul didn't have to be in the fight that he has at the end with the Philistines and lose his sons and everything. He should have packed up long ago and just went home. And if the Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body aren't careful, the same thing's going to happen to them. They need to shut it down while they can hold face. They've got no integrity. Verse 11, moreover, my father, see the corner of your robe in my hand. Now, he's got the evidence. David's got the evidence that he can outdo Saul. And do you know what? We've got the evidence that the governing body in the Watchtower Society is wrong. For in that I cut off the corner of your robe and did not kill you. Now see that there is neither evil nor rebellion in my hand. I have not sinned against you, yet you hunt my life to take it. Let the Lord judge between you and me, and let the Lord avenge me on you. But my hand shall not be against you. As the proverb of the ancient says, wicked proceeds from the wicked. And he's saying, I'm not wicked, but my hand shall not be against you. After whom has the king of Israel come out? Whom do you pursue? A dead dog, a flea? Well, both David and Saul knew at this point, because Jonathan said, that David was supposed to be king. Why couldn't Saul just say, okay, and I keep saying this, why couldn't he have just said, I've had enough of this. You can have the job as king, mate. I can't do it. And see and plead my case, and therefore let the Lord be judge, and judge between you and me, and see and plead my case, and deliver me out of your hand. So it was, when David had finished speaking these words to Saul, that Saul said, is this your voice, my son David? And lifted up his voice and wept. Saul had had enough. He had come to his end. But he would not give in, like the Pharaoh of Egypt. He just would not give in until all the firstborn were dead. What's Saul's fate? What is Saul's fate? And then he said to David, you are more righteous than I, for you have rewarded me with good, whereas I have rewarded you with evil. So he'd come to his senses for a moment, hadn't he? And you have shown this day who you have dealt well with me. For when the Lord delivered me into your hand, you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, will he let him get away safely? Therefore may the Lord reward you with good for what you have done to me this day. And now I know indeed that you shall surely be king. Oh my goodness! Now I know indeed that you shall surely be king. He already was the king. That's the point. Why didn't Saul just say, you are the king? Not that you shall indeed be the king, you are the king. And that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. Therefore swear now to me by the Lord that you will not cut off my descendants after me, and that you will not destroy my name from my father's house. So David swore to Saul, and Saul went home. Praise God! But David and his men went up to the stronghold. Can you see the lessons in this? Sometimes you've just got to say, I don't belong here. Let somebody else do it. And on that note, that controversial note, we'll close. Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like. Maybe even comment if you watch it on Facebook. Like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.